You're listening to WGSN-DB, Going Solo Network, Singles Talk Radio channel, where we take a lighthearted and candid approach to discussions on the journey of relationship loss, divorce, parenting, being single, relationships building, dating, and yes, sex. Join our listeners and begin living your best life.
Welcome to our show. This is Anna Lanier. You are listening to True Secrets of Life. And I am a family relationship and antidepressant expert. And today's True Secret of Life is relationships are everything in life. And to just back me up on this point, I have today an amazing guest. And I'm not joking when I say an amazing guest. I have number one, the best, the most amazing relationship coach on this planet. I don't know anything about other planets, but on this planet, nobody can beat him. It's very simple. Nobody can challenge him because he's just the best. His name is Paradis. Andre, thank you for coming over to our show.
Absolutely, Anna. Thank you for having me. Thank you for the intro.
Yeah, you are the most amazing guy on this planet on relationships. And I'm doing relationships too, but I'm doing family relationships. And I only touch upon, the major elements of people that should know about relationship. But there is nothing to the extent that you are doing and how well you have been training yourself on the matter, and every single little insight and everything. And I was thinking the other day, maybe I should have Andre audit my relationship course of 3.5 hours. I said, not a good idea. It's going to end up to be a 30 hours course. If I have you working on it, and that's not the purpose of my life. My purpose is getting people out of depression, not concentrating only on relationships. So, Andre, I know you have also a podcast. I know you have a lot of things that you can talk about today because it's amazing. We met a couple of years ago, and it's like you gave me permission to be the right woman. May I say that?
Wow. Sounds like me.
Sounds like it. So how do you do that? How do you turn people around from misconceptions about love, about relationships? How do you really do that, Andre?
Well, that's a good question. It's layered, but what I see a lot in our world, in our culture is, I call it like a tidal wave of, the culture has a pulse and a belief system. Man is dangerous. Man can be toxic, right? You can't trust men, right? Like the feminine knows better in relationships. There are all these beliefs that are all over the place that we absorb, men and women, by the way. And so often what we think is right is not what we decided or thought about what's right for us. We kind of go with the flow. And part of the problem is it's very, very hard to swim upstream against the flow. And so my clients typically come at me with, I'm doing everything I'm supposed to do per, be strong, independent, powerful woman, per, I'm protecting myself because I don't want to be stuck like my mother with a man who's less than blah, blah. She told me don't ever count on men. They're dangerous, right? So people get stuck in circumstances and beliefs that they think is the right thing to do, and ultimately the pace of it doesn't work. So I have to go back to what is it that you want. Forget your mother. Forget, the stepping in life in fear or with fear. So, everybody's got bad experiences, but people who succeed in life in every aspect of life kind of step into the fear and manage, not only their fear, but manage their experience from the past, clean them up, this, right? Clean them up.
Yes.
And go for the dream. So often when I give somebody permission is we peel the onion back onto all the false belief systems that they picked up from either their childhood or culture or their parenting or their friends or their schools or religion even, and kind of peel it back to what is it that you want? Oh, you want to be, let's say, a mother and a wife, right? So let's do that. Exactly. Let's step into that. And for some people, it's a lot what's the word? It's a slow moving kind of new, creating new habits. It's sort of moving into that space, vulnerability a little bit slower, but it's like, this, like you have to do your work. You have to,
Yeah. And the people that are moving slow into it, I think they didn't suffer enough because I was moving very fast into it.
Right,
Okay.
right.
Once
People-
I found
yeah.
out what the misconceptions about love are, what true love really means, okay, that the four men and four archetypes of men and women have positive and negatives, and the negatives comes with accumulating pain and putting boundaries over and over and building walls to stay safe where you end up depressed, not safe.
Yep.
Very simple, right?
Right.
So once I
Right.
found out this, I said, forget about whatever I knew for 38 years of my life. No wonder I was divorced twice by the age of 38. Hello, right?
Right.
And here is, I apply what an expert knows, not whatever I think I know. And I have today a bunch
Right.
of clients who say, oh, why do I need a relationship course to get out of depression? I'm like, you don't know who you are. You don't know who you're looking for. You don't know how to have a great relationship with your boss, with your child, with anybody in life, because guess what? Relationships are everything in life.
Amen. Amen. I mean, it's the truth.
And, we
You
might
know,
concentrate on love and relationships as, intimate relationships. But, if you don't get along with everybody, if you don't understand the plus and minuses, and there are just four types of men, four types of women, I mean, it cannot be more, uncomplicated than that, then you're just going to
Yeah.
slip into traps. And, what I notice is that, you see one relationship that doesn't work. Okay, and there are usually four relationships that don't work in the world and two relationships that work in the world. And because you
Right.
saw one that doesn't work, you're going to slip into the three ones that do not work. Because you're still broken. You go with a broken mindset, right?
Right.
Out there. And you're
Right.
not going to find the two of them that work for maybe, but the age of 70, you're not going to find them, right? So just imagine
Absolutely.
how much time do you have to fail, okay? So instead of, to me, Andre, is like, instead of getting married, okay, and spending so much money on your wedding, spend some money on a relationship advice.
Please. I mean, right? That's what you would think. It was so obvious. It's so obvious to me and you. You know what I mean? Like, I like to teach and coach couples before they get married, before, when they get engaged and they're about to step into this commitment. This is when you step into, wait a second, like, where's this going really? And how, have you set your boundaries? Have you set, how do you discuss your wants and needs? How do you negotiate all these things for the thing to go all the way, 20, 30, 40 years? You know what I mean? There's all these things that we don't want to talk about somehow because it's not romantic, but you have to. That's what like the ones who succeed do. I mean, that's not that complicated, right?
No, it's not that complicated. So I was looking up the other day a BBC article by James Gallagher, health editor at BBC News website. The article was published on April 15, 2015. And 2015. And it says, divorces have more heart attacks.
Yep.
And at some point at the end is like, they don't know why. I'm like, really? Really? Is it so hard to understand that a heartbreak is connected to breaking your heart at the physical level?
Yeah.
Because that's what it does, right? I mean, you think it's an
Absolutely.
emotion and stuff like that, but it's so hard to understand that, we don't know why this happens. Really? For me, it's just like, it's unimaginable, right? While tables can reduce the risks caused by high blood pressure, there is no easy solution for the pain of divorce. Yes, there is.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. There is a relationship advice. There is a relationship course out there. Don't get into the ocean if you don't know how to swim.
Ah, my God.
You're going to die.
Preach, sister, preach. Yeah, you're going to drown. You're going to drown, and you're going to blame the sea for it.
Exactly.
Yeah. It's you, baby. It's you.
Exactly.
There.
So what brought you to this? I know your story, but our audience does not. So what brought you to doing all of this? Because what you do, it's absolutely amazing.
Well, I've had a difficult childhood, and what happened is by the age of 5, I ended up having to, I became the observant of human beings because of my conditioning in my family. So I became hyper vigilant into watching people, watching the world, first my family, which I didn't understand, and then when I got to school, and so I became, for my circumstances, like I said, starting at 5, the observant of human beings. I became fascinated with the human condition. How do people get to be like they are? And some are fantastic, and some are weird, and so that whole continuum. So that's always been my brain. I'm curious about everything. That became the first big one, and it's sort of been a driver for my life since I was little like this. So I started doing personal development when I was 23 years old. Again, same thing, in search of answers for myself, and also understanding more my human condition and everybody else as you go along. So I've always had that curious mindset and then in 2006, I was in Northern California in another personal development workshop. It was a business workshop, a 3-day workshop that I attended to help me increase the revenue of the business that I was in at the time that I owned. But I met this couple who ended up sitting next to me on the plane on the flight back to Los Angeles. And I remember thinking it was so random. Oh, my God, you guys are sitting together. Thinking it was random. Yeah, I don't believe that anymore. What happened is the young lady says to me, what are you doing next weekend or this weekend? And I go, oh, I'm off this weekend. She goes, you want to come to a workshop? It's on me because she works for a workshop company. So I immediately says, of course, because my brain loves to learn. My brain is curious, and those could be expensive, as you know. So invite me to, of course. And then my question was, what's the workshop? Because I agree before I even knew what it was.
We do that all the time in our jobs.
I'm curious. Right. I'm curious. You know, you invite me to something, I'll be there. I'll learn something. I guarantee you. Right? And she says, well, it's called Understanding Women. Okay. That's my first reaction, like, oh, okay. Now, you have to understand, you know, I was a dancer. I was a business owner. I've always attracted sweet women like my wife. Mm-hmm. So I didn't do the crazy stuff I saw my friends do. The yelling, the screaming, the misunderstanding. Mm-hmm. That I never really did that, you know. So I thought it was me. I thought I knew something. I thought I was ahead of somehow, you know. And then I
you're
couldn't have explained it. You're
superior than other men.
Somehow, I thought my artistic personality was probably that was easier to get along with. That's, you know, like I said, looking back, I'm like, how arrogant. Like, because I couldn't explain it, right? I just thought I had something. Okay. So I get to the workshop. Remember the Saturday morning, it was by the airport, in an airport hotel, big place. Remember driving to it on my day off, you know, first thing on Saturday morning. I don't want to go. And I'm in the car negotiating with myself, like, what the hell are you going to teach me, right? Like,
I know it all.
Well, I just thought it was going to be cute. Like, you know, don't raise your voice, be kind, make sure you, like, listen to her. Right? I just thought it was going to be that. So, by the time I get there, I know it's ridiculous. Thinking back, it's ridiculous. How arrogant. So I get there, and when I find the room for the event, there's 400 people in there. And I instantly went, oh, like, this is not cute, right? There's something here. There's something going on here. I remember, like, the vibe, my thinking changed completely. I sat down. The lady started teaching. And by the end of the workshop, my brain is all over the wall. Like, my brain completely exploded. And I realized that I knew actually nothing about women. But what was really scary for me is I knew nothing about my wife. At the time, I'm married for a few years. We have, you know, young children. Right? I'm not looking for this information. We're doing fine. But I just realized I know nothing about my wife. I know nothing about how she processes things, how she takes things personally, how my action or my word or even my lack of action and my lack of words affect her and make me look uncherishing, you know, disconnected, cold, shallow even. Yeah. Like, oh, what? And that just made me explode because to me, that was very dangerous not to know how she process things different than I do, that I couldn't imagine. All my siblings, I have 4 brothers and sisters. All my family, they're all divorced 2 and 3 times, each one of them. I have my angel girl. I have my beautiful princess. I have 2 little kids. I'm not going to mess this up because I don't know. You know what I mean? Because I didn't know. So
I don't know
instead
what
of jumping in the ocean, right? I jumped in the ocean, but I learned to swim.
Yeah.
So that became the catalyst for the beginning of that kind of work. So
that's absolutely amazing. I know where your story is, but I just want the listener to listen to, because it's just like quite amazing, because we all think we know it all, right? So for whoever is joining in right now, you're listening to True Secrets of Life radio show with me, Anna Lanier. I'm a family relationship and antidepressant expert, and yes, we do relationship at a minimum, because we have to do relationship when we get people out of anxiety, social anxiety, depression, heartbreak. We need to address these things. But today I got the expert in love and relationship, #1 coach in the world, Andre Paradis. So if you haven't had the chance to listen to the first part of the interview, please make sure you go to truesecretsoflife.com. And you are listening to this entire radio show. Out there, you will also have a button at how to connect with Andre Paradis. So please make sure you do not miss the gift that he has for you at the end of this show. So, Andre, I know that a lot of women come to you with a tremendous amount of problems, right?
Yeah.
So that depends on the type of woman and type of man. And I think in the second part of the show, we should explain to the audience what do we mean by 4 types of men and women. Because I think they're all over. We're like, what? I am unique. I am different. I'm like, no, you think you are. Right? So the second part of the show, we're going to address that. 4 types of men and women, and what does that mean? But I know that I have came to you with the position of the authority that I have, right? So it's not like the society told me to be strong and independent. It happened to be, my life as a single mom. It brought me into that a position of warrior, if I would to say. It's like, let's go to war. Follow me, guys. And everybody is running away in all the directions. It's like, why? What happened? Like you scared them all.
Well, it's interesting you say that, but motherhood is very masculine. Mothering and nurturing is providing, protecting the children, which is really, really masculine.
True.
We think of mothering as very feminine. It's not.
Exactly.
So often, not even knowing that, you end up describing exactly what you just said, but you also will do this possibly with a man in the house.
Yeah, I was telling everybody what to do, when to do it, how to do it.
Yeah.
Everybody was lined up, like business.
And what happens to the male, often he's the one who's, before children, often the man is, will be at the head of the household, and that's his job, and he holds them accountable. But the kids come in, Mama Bear takes over, and all of a sudden we call it like a dual providing, protecting the children kind of thing. And often he has to acquiesce to Mama Bear that's so much bigger, because instinct has that showing up. And so often this is when in a lot of marriages and relationships, it comes undone, not understanding what's happening there, confusing him, right? She's compelled to take over control because she's protecting the children all day and providing. He comes home later, he wants to, oh, hell no, right? And all of a sudden we start colliding. And then often some women do not recover from that Mama Bear attack.
Yeah.
On their nervous system, right? It's appropriate for the first couple of years when the children are little, and then it eases off. But some women don't recover and continue controlling everything in the family, which is understandable to a point. But when you start taking over your man, that he becomes one of the children, Houston will have a problem, and that's what I see.
Yeah, and problems are, I look at the women that come to me who are sleeping with their sons over the age of 7. I'm like, because they're still thinking that it's my little baby. I'm like, no, you're building codependency problems.
Yep.
later on in
Yep.
life,
Oh my God.
right? Or
Yep.
you are, or at the age of 12, the girl cannot go to the restroom by herself. She always needs to be accompanied by somebody. I'm like, another codependency problem that you're building, right? Without realizing from this mama bear instinct that you mentioned, right? But it is not normal. So when
Right.
I know I had my own relationship courses and I got your approval of how to be and how to not be in the world, especially with men. I realized that I was just by being strong and independent and continue to be like this at every moment of my life. I am
Yep.
turning my child into my boy into a nobody that doesn't know
Yep.
what to do in a
Yep.
lot of circumstances, that is afraid to do anything, that is going to ask a woman, oh my God, what do you like to do today?
Yeah.
And these are the boys that you mentioned and the people who
Yes.
have a lot of problems. Would you like to explain more about this?
Sure. So one of the things that I see constantly, and it's interesting because we talked about mama bear, which is appropriate to protect the children, right? But what's happened is, and it's something that we keep forgetting, or for some reason the culture is trying to say it's okay, it's okay, it's okay. As long as you love your children, it's okay, they'll be fine. Well, no, right? They both need the feminine approach to life, the feminine teaching, the feminine paradigm, the feminine qualities, and also the masculine qualities, both boys and girls as children. So the mother will be more nurturing unto a certain level, right? Especially when they're smaller, the daddy energy comes in a little bit later on, where they're you can reason and teach them about life, about logisticals of life, about right. So a young boy ends up role modeling after his father. By the age of 3, when identity kicks in, little boys realize, oh look, I have a penis like him. Oh, I'm like him, and start role modeling after him. Where there's no him in the space, little boys have nobody to role model after, and their identity creation, their identity developing mechanism goes awry a little bit. They don't know who to be, how to be. And if Mama Bear is in charge, because there's no daddy, Mama Bear will provide and protect to the hilt, like I call it like nurturing on steroids, right? Because that's
because there is no
that's
other
the
choice.
nature of
At least
being
how she thinks
feminine,
it.
right?
Yeah.
To be nurturing, but you go on steroids when there's nobody to help. It's all on you, and often overprotect the children. Now, on a little girl, it's different kind of damage. On the boy, if you overprotect him, over nurture him, he starts feeling weak. He's feeling weak, and he doesn't get to develop his manhood, his masculinity, his go for it.
And he has zero
go
confidence.
through your fear.
Zero confidence
Yeah,
in himself.
because he doesn't push through his fears, so he's afraid of everything. He doesn't push. He doesn't build his character, so he can't do anything. He's questioning everything, and he gets stuck in boyhood. So one of the problems that I see is if you over-nurture a boy past the age of 10, this is when you stop mothering him. This is where you say, honey, you're 10 years old now, so here's an alarm clock. You get yourself up to catch the bus to go to school, or you don't, you miss the bus, it's on you. If you want, you need to teach him how to do his own laundry, take care of himself. You put life on his lap as opposed to continue mothering him. Because if you don't do this, by the age of 13, 14, 15, when they get into puberty, and then when you over-nurture a boy, they start believing that women in the world are here to serve them.
Yeah.
And they don't step into masculinity, manhood like other men do, and they become, what I say, they stay boyish. They stay boys who expect the world to kiss their butts, make them comfortable, provide for them. These are guys who want to stay home until they're 30 years old and still play video games in the basement. They're not unemployed. They're not going to school necessarily. There's a different variety of how that shows up, but no confidence, no mojo, no masculinity, right? Raised to be feminine, so they think to be polite and say, where do you want to go for dinner? What do you want to do?
Especially if you pay for it as a woman.
Right. And then you end up right. And they want women to be strong, independent, and powerful, and pay for everything. And this is when the formula goes completely upside down.
Yeah, and then I have clients who come to me. He's like, my husband stays on the couch every day and doesn't do anything. I'm like, yeah, but when you tell him to do whatever, he just follows up like a puppy, right? Yeah. Well, men are not supposed to be puppies. That's for the dog land.
Right. It's interesting, but, and, like that concept of he has to obey you.
Uh-huh.
Seriously, like, just listen to that
Yeah,
word.
because
A man,
otherwise you're going to raise hell.
right, if a man obeys you, he's not a man.
Exactly. Yeah. And
A man
it's
does not
super funny
obey
because you
his wife.
prefer for a man to just do whatever you say, but at the other point you
Sure.
don't feel protected. You
Right.
feel exhausted in a marriage because you have to do it all.
Yep.
He doesn't do anything.
Yep.
Right? There's no father there in any way, shape, or form. You're just both.
Yep.
It doesn't matter if you're in a relationship. You're still a single mom.
Yep, absolutely.
Right?
And this is the worst thing. Yeah, this is the worst. I want to say something terrible. Are you ready? This is
ready.
like how all of this goes. So what happens is if you end up mothering him, right, because he never grew into his masculinity, so you end up with if you're strong independent and powerful woman, end up with a boy, you end up doing everything. You mother him, you protect him, you provide him, you pay for him. He moves into your house. He's driving your car because he can't afford to fix his old piece of crap. You know what I mean? You lend him money because he's struggling. He promises to pay it back. He never does. He doesn't want to get married. He doesn't want to take care of your children. If you have children, he doesn't want to be part of that. He wants independence. He wants comfort. And what happens is, and this is horrible, but it's always the same story, is when you mother a male, the energy between you is upside down. Like no one normal, this is it. No normal person wants to have sex with his mother. And no mother wants to have sex with her son. But that's the dynamic that you create in a dynamic like this. And so you find out after 5 years of supporting him, trying to help him get on his feet, which he won't do, that he has a girlfriend on the side the whole time because he's still a male.
Exactly.
Right? And this is all the stories that I want to avoid. I want to save women for that horrible turnout, not understanding and not knowing how this dynamic actually works.
Exactly.
There's a way to...
And it's a way to prevent it from when you're raising them. It's a way to prevent it from that point, or it's a way to change it, as I said, with relationship advice and relationship courses and, dismissing these things. But we're going to go very soon to a break, Andre.
Okay.
I would like the listeners to remember that they can go to truesecretsoflife.com to listen to this entire interview, especially because in the second part, we're going to talk about 4 types of men and women. And you might recognize yourself between them with pluses and minuses, okay? And you'll be surprised who you are. You are one of those. You're not so unique as you think you are, right? And you also have a possibility, if you go to the same website, truesecretsoflife.com, to connect to Andre for the duration of the podcast, because I think that anybody that has problems in love and relationships needs to connect with him. Now, I'm doing depression and family relationship and more complex problems, but Andre is the number 1 coach in the world, and I'm not joking, in the entire world, for love, dating, and relationships. So you really don't want to miss this opportunity to connect with him. We will be back in just a few minutes.
Welcome to GoingSoloTravelers.com. Going Solo Travelers is about connecting, making new friends, exploring, and enjoying new fun times together. Laughter and the excitement of seeing and exploring something new creates memories that will last forever. Come join us on GoingSoloTravelers.com.
What are the secrets to a happy and successful life? Well, Anna Lanier, family relationship and antidepressant expert, will share with you true secrets of life to help you overcome heartbreak, anxiety, and depression, and to live a life that you deserve and desire. Her philosophy is simple: master the game of life so you'll never be trapped in pain or hurt again. Anna can be heard nationwide on the True Secrets of Life radio show on the My Genre Radio Network at 8 a.m. and again at 3 p.m. To listen to her show, go to TrueSecretsOfLife.com.
Welcome back to True Secrets of Life radio show with me, Anna Lanier. I'm a family relationship and antidepressant expert, and today I have somebody very, very special in the house just to debunk one true secret of life, probably the most important one in the world. Relationships are everything in life. So, Andre Paradis with me today. Number one, the best, the most amazing coach in the world. I have never found anybody that has his knowledge. I have never found anybody that knows so much about men and women and their dynamics. So thank you, Andre, for coming up here. And we promised our audience we're going to talk about the 4 types of men and women.
Mm-hmm.
Let's do it, baby.
I love it. Love it.
Right.
I think I talk about that different than you do. So I kind of
Yes.
want to have your take on it, if that's okay.
Yeah, so I
From your
talk about it
perspective on
through the elements. I talk about it as a water element, fire element, air element, and earth element. Because I have seen that in just 3.5 hours, as much as my relationship course is, just to, give them the skills to never be heartbroken and depressed again, they need something very simple, right? People need something extremely simple, the structure to be extremely simple, to be able to acknowledge something that they've never heard about. Right?
Right,
Because
right,
this is
right,
how
right.
it is. They never heard about this thing, right? So for me, it's water, fire, air, and earth. And how do you move in the cycle of life through all of them? And how do you accomplish what you're missing? So that's for me. But I know you have a
Got it.
different approach because you are concentrating on love and relationships at the intimate level. You don't concentrate on everything like families and everything that I do, right? So you have a
Yes.
more
Well, I
deeper
do-
approach.
I do. Yeah, but I love, my favorite is definitely the love dynamic. So in my world, the 4 types of people in a relationship is this: like, if you get to have a twosome, is that each of us as men and women both have a masculine and a feminine side inside of us. We both have
Bambi
both.
and Godzilla. That's how I call it. And I'm clearly Godzilla. I tell everybody from the start, I'm a Godzilla. Forget about the Bambi
I know.
part.
The Bambi, not so much, right?
Exactly.
And again, and we're all on a continuum. Some women are more masculine by nature, by temperament, right? Some men are more feminine, right? But there's still are masculine to a point, right? So in my world of 4, when you're in a relationship with somebody, there were 4 people in place. There's his masculine, his feminine, her masculine. And often not understanding that dynamic, people collide. If you go masculine on masculine at each other, man on man, you're going to be fighting.
Yes.
You're going to be fighting
Yes.
because you're pushing on each other. You try to control whatever it is that is present. So that's a thing that people don't understand very much at all, right? And it's funny because if you look at gay relationships where you take gender out of the equation, you know what I mean? Because it's very easy for couples to blame each other. Well, he's shallow. He doesn't talk. I don't know what's going on with him. He needs to be more like, my girlfriend, right? Well, that's never going to work.
You're not going to sleep with your girlfriend.
Right. And then, men, the same thing. Why is she still talking? Why is she taking everything personally, right? So that's that whole idea. So when you take gender out of a relationship and they say you have 2 men or 2 women, and so now they're operating on the same baseline, it's interesting. How come some of them flourish in relationships and some of them want to kill each other? And again, it's that kind of those 4 types, there's those 4 energies where if the man wants to be the man and the other one wants to be the woman, there's a flow, there's magnetism, there's polarity, which is nature. But if they both want to lead, they want to conquer, they want to control, we have a collision, regardless of their gender. You see that? So it's an interesting, nobody gets it from that angle. Nobody thinks of it in that angle. So when I say, if you're going to get in a relationship, right, you have to decide, which seat you want to use. You have to decide. You have to.
And
pick
you can
the seat.
change them. Like, for example, when your
Of course.
husband is next to you, let him drive, let him be in control. When he's gone to work or, he's gone for 6 months, being whatever problem he has to do, right? Then you take control. You drive your kids to work. You tell them what to do, right?
Yeah,
So how do you switch between these? It's how emotionally balanced you are.
Absolutely. And understanding how it works. You know what I mean? Like I said, in a partnership, this is, what I see that's really made things more difficult is we convince everyone, men and women in our culture, that the patriarchy was the enemy for millennia, right? There was men in front of women, women behind men the whole time. And so women have no rights, women have blah, right? I understand that part, sure. Except at the baseline, patriarchy is men providing and protecting women and children. That's the baseline.
Exactly.
So that took a bad rap because men would say, you don't need to vote. We got it. You don't need to bother with this. We got it.
There were
we
a
don't
lot of
care about.
abuses, and I think they, just because
Of
there
course.
were a lot of them, it got, exacerbated. Like every man is an abuser today.
Of course. Right. That's not true. But anyway,
And now
so that's
because
the
of that,
baseline.
now we're raising pussy men that are not able to do anything,
see?
not even to comment in front
See?
of a man or vote for a woman.
Totally. So
Exactly.
what happened now is the belief system in our culture, even men, is such again, that tidal wave of belief that even men buy into is that, well, men have been in front of women for millennia, so now it's time for women to get in front of men. It's just fair.
Exactly.
Except that doesn't work either. This is what we're talking about, right? Women in front of men, leading men, taking control, taking over, doesn't really work for women either. Burns you out, makes you miserable. You know the type. They're all around you. So what I'm talking about is not men in front of women. It's not women in front of men. It's side by side. It's partnership. It's togetherness. It's and in that you have to figure out which seat you want to be. You want to be in the driver's seat or the passenger seat. And neither is less than the other, right? Again, the cultural belief is that women have to be in the driver's seat to be worthy and valuable. Okay, well, how's that going? Because if you put the man if he's masculine in the right seat, you'll find himself being passive aggressive, and you'll end up doing all of it.
Exactly.
So again, so there's a place where if you want a true partnership with a man who does what a man does, not a boy, that's a problem. But a man will let him drive, let him take control, let him lead, not take control, and let him lead, and negotiate when he goes too far, negotiate when he needs to be negotiated. And again, like you said, and when he goes off to work, when you have the wheel on your life, and you take control of that part of you. But together with him, there's a magnetism, there's a yin yang, there's a negative positive. Right? There's a black and white. There's everything in nature that works, everything in nature that grows, everything that flourishes in nature, everywhere in nature is polarized. It's not equal. So nowhere in nature is the masculine the same as the feminine. They're always complementary. They come together to procreate and continue the species. They're not equal. They're different, but they're made to fit perfectly. They're complementary. We decided that that's silly, stupid, archaic, passé. The modern way is 50-50. That, as you know, absolutely does not work either.
No, it doesn't. And in the same article that I have mentioned, divorces have more heart attacks by James Gallagher, health editor at BBC News website on April 15, 2015. He says the following. An analysis of 827 people showed women were most affected by divorce and heart attacks.
Of course.
And they reduced the risk if they were remarried. So what most women do not understand that are specifically in my position as CEO, business owners, single moms, the mama bears type that we're all the time, go, 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 go. Man, at some point you need to relax, otherwise this is going to kill you.
Yep, absolutely.
And when you're going to relax, when you have a man next to you. Very simple. Because it's when you are protected.
Right. That you can relax. When you feel safe, when you're not Mama Bear, we're not in charge of everything.
Exactly.
I'm trained with Dr. Pat Allen here in Los Angeles, and Dr. Pat calls women in Mama Bear mode for years and years and years. She calls it cancer training for ladies.
Yeah.
Because the stress of that, we call it adrenalize. Your body is adrenalized all the time. You don't have testosterone to continue that pace of lifestyle, that stress, that anxiety. So you're adrenalized all the time. Your adrenaline glands are squirting adrenaline in your bloodstream all the time. That's the energy. That's the hyperness that you need to push and compete in the world and be Mama Bear. We now know that adrenaline in your bloodstreams for years burns out all your organs from the inside. Yeah. So women are opening the doors to all kinds of cancer from a lifestyle of being masculine, and eventually it'll kill you, period. We know this. There's data on this. So why would you want to go there, right? Like, how about, I always say, like, you don't have to, if you've had bad issues in relationships, right, you don't have to decide that you want to be this passive little petite flower who a man's going to control. That's not what I'm saying. But it's an in-between, right? Like companionship alone, you don't have to be married, but companionship alone with the presence of a man will reduce your stress, right? Have you calm down. To have somebody in the house who's bigger and stronger will relax you. You'll be able to sleep differently, right? There's a bunch of goodies that men bring to just by their presence and energy naturally to a woman's nervous system that calms you down.
Yeah, and why would you want, you mentioned something that I really have to add. Why wouldn't you want to be married unless you haven't healed from past heartbreaks, okay?
Right.
And why
right.
would you want to be married as a man unless you have some issues that you haven't really resolved and very healable and fixable? So there is no excuses why somebody can't look up a relationship course, can go to an expert for relationship to see what else has to be healed in themselves for them to attract the right partner, for them to be happy. We're just so, I don't know, surrendering to pain, to just keep on being heartbroken over and over again. It's like, how is this helping you in any way, shape, or form? You're getting married, but you don't take a relationship course. You're having a kid, and when you said, oh, he abandoned me. For me, it was like, you married an airman. And he's like, what do you mean an airman? A man that, he values freedom, not family. And this is the type of man he is, and we're going to change him. Why would you have any kind of kid with this kind of man?
Right. I have this saying that I use all the time, and it goes like this. Excuse me. You are not responsible for what happens to you as a child. Right, and the injuries on your nervous system, the injuries on your heart. We all have passes, right? We all have stuff that happens to us. However, you are 100% responsible to fix it. That's what you're saying.
Yes.
Right? Like you could be miserable. You could have, you've had bad parents, abandonment issues, abuse issues, neglect issues. We all have them. Nobody gets out of childhood unscathed. We all have them. However, the ones who succeed, get this. If you look at like the most successful people in the world, they come from typically horrible beginnings.
Yes.
Oprah Winfrey. Just look at Oprah's life. She should be dead.
Or Tony Robbins.
Dead, right?
Or Tony Robbins.
And Tony Robbins. Like I said, the people that have accomplished the most typically come from terrible beginnings. What did? They didn't lay down. They didn't start doing drugs. They didn't try to, they fought. Now, these guys have fought harder than anybody typically, and I'm like, and look at the success they produce. So it's not that complicated. Life is complicated. You've been hurt. Okay, so is everybody else. It's you think you have it worse. Maybe, but I promise you can find somebody who's got it much worse. Oprah, right? So get over it. Get to work.
Exactly. Exactly.
Really, it's your life. It's your happiness. And so if you're going to play victim, it's going to be a miserable life.
You're going
to
just attract people that will use you and abuse you if you play victim.
And you're going to go down with them. Absolutely. So you have a choice. You could be a victim and go, oh, it's because of okay. Or you could go, I have a client, get this, is a male client who's been both, get this is insane. Has been sexually and physically abused by both his parents as a kid. Both of his parents, mom and dad. The two people who were supposed to protect him. He should be dead. He should be in a ditch with a needle in his arm dead, right? At 38 years old. But that's not who he is. You know who he is? He's the kid that said to me, I refuse to let that be my life. This is not where I was born. These are things that happened to me, but it will not keep me from living the life that I was born to live. He fights for his life, and he's now at almost 40 years old doing fantastic. At one point, he had me as a coach. He had a therapist. He was part of 2 mentoring groups for men, right? 4 layers of learning, 4 layers of pushing through his crap to find himself on the other side. Today, he's a successful businessman. He's a writer, a deep, profound, really good writer because of his experience and his pain that he conquered. And now he's living the life that he created out of all this crap. I have an experience like this in my life. I know you do as well. Like, it's what you do with it. You could lay down and die, or you could fight. Like, what else do you have to do anyway?
Exactly.
Really.
So for everybody joining us in, you're listening to True Secrets of Life radio show with me, Anna Lanier, family relationship and antidepressant expert, and with Andra Paradis, #1 coach in the world for love and relationships. I can put my hand in the fire for that. Trust me, guys, I've never seen somebody so knowledgeable about relationships. And I do some relationship stuff, but nothing at your deep, deep level. So we're debunking today the one true secret of life that everybody should know about. And that is relationships are everything in life.
Everything. Mm-hmm.
And if you think that you have amazing relationships around you, just because you're guarded and you're running away from people, just because, I would never do this or I would never do that, and you put negative things to the equation of relationships, I can tell you that you have a lot to learn. A lot to learn.
Yeah, there's some data that is fascinating, and you and I get this because we're in the business. But there's a lot of data, if you research, that both men and women, even if they're successful financially, if their love lives aren't in order, if they can't sustain a healthy love relationship, feel unsuccessful or not happy. This is like across the board. Interesting. Men as well, by the way. Surprises ladies sometimes when I say this. It's factual. So people who have happy, loving relationships are happier, obviously. But get this. They also make more money. They live longer. They're not as sick. They're more creative.
They don't have children depressed.
That's what I mean. They see life as a gift. They pass that on to their kids, who raise healthy children, who see life with all possibilities instead of with a cloud over their heads.
Exactly.
You know
Because I do this a lot.
And by the way, everything I teach is nature and science. It's not my opinion. It's nature and science.
No, it's your expert opinion, which is very different than your opinion. Right? Because everybody has opinions that are broken, and you look at their life as like, oh, God, thank you very much for your opinion, but you're more broken than I am.
Yeah.
So it's different when you talk about an expertise, not an expert opinion, not my personal opinion that I woke up with it last night. Right.
Right. Like, just thought about this and I figured it out. Right.
Exactly.
So it's interesting. So for me, again, it goes back to nature. Everything that I teach is lines up with nature. We keep going against nature, wondering why things aren't working out. Now, and I'm not saying going back to the 50s when we talked about relationships. That's ridiculous. People always misinterpret me that way. Women who are strong, independent, and powerful, feminist women who decide that I'm misogynistic and trying to bring women back. They say stuff like, "Oh, so do you want us to dumb it down and like wiggle our butts like Marilyn Monroe?" I'm like, "Is that what I said? That's nowhere near what I said."
Exactly.
I'm a lover of women and men, and my mission in life is to help men and women succeed in relationships, understand each other, learn how to build a healthy, loving bond, learn how to communicate so that keeps going. I'm not talking about dumbing down. So it's not going back to the 50s.
Exactly.
There's a natural modern way to do this. That's what I teach. That's what I'm talking about.
Exactly.
And often I have, when I teach these ladies who try to make me wrong or think I'm misogynistic or I'm trying to like dumb women down, I go, no. And I'll teach them a bit. And my favorite part is often they get quiet. They go, "Oh, I never thought about it that way."
Of course, you keep on talking nonstop. Poor man doesn't even know like he can't even process everything you're saying.
Right, but I give them a little bit. They process. It resonates in their gut because I'm teaching nature and science. Right, it resonates, and they go, "Oh, never thought about it that way." I go, "That's all I want you to do. Spin it around, and when you're done with that one, ask me more questions. I'll take you there." Like, I get back everything I'm teaching because it's nature.
Exactly.
Science.
And I have a lot of relationships where, she's trying to control everything, even if she acknowledges that she doesn't know anything about the world, right? So here is like, I don't know anything about the world. And I am trying to control my husband, who, by the way, knows a lot more about the world. I'm like, okay, just tell me the truth. Between you and your husband, who is smarter? My husband. Then why don't you listen? Why don't you learn? Why don't you try to control him at every moment of your life? Okay, because that man is getting derailed, doesn't know what to do. It's like, okay, I really love her. I really don't want her to feel like this, but are we really going to do this stupid thing that she says? I mean, you're derailing your own men from being successful.
I know. You know, the one that blows my mind that women don't understand is that, and men have said that to me, right? Like, women say, I want you to be more like this. I'd like you to be more attentive this way, right? Like, just keep asking for things that they want. And men all they want to do is make their wives and their girlfriends happy.
Yes.
But there's a phenomenon that happens here. You may be able to relate that women are seemingly blind to, and men will say this. He goes, how come, you know, I try to do something pleasant for her. I listen to her, and I try to do that for her, but I never seem to be able to do it right. Right?
Yeah.
And so she was like, thank you, but, you know, we should have done this at a different place. Like, and completely killed his effort. And men will say, like, how come I can't get, like, 80% of the points for at least, like, doing it? I'm always at zero. I always end up with 0 points.
Yeah, exactly.
No matter what I do,
it's not good enough.
Wrong a little bit. It's not good enough. It's, you know, he says, I can't get 80 points at 100. I get always 0. And so what happens is this. Get this. This is basic men behavior, the typical, is that if a man cannot win with his wife or his girlfriend, he's going to let you go, right? If you make him wrong for even his effort, if you can't do anything right, man will say this eventually, you know, obviously I can't do anything. I can't make you happy. I can't do anything right. So I'm going to release you back to the world to find your Mr. Perfect, because obviously it's not me and it's killing me. So I'm going to go.
Yeah, that was my second husband. Who took off with another woman. Exactly like you mentioned, because I was in control of everything and he didn't feel like he was enough in the relationship,
Yeah, you made him the feminine.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? When you control everything, you're the masculine, right? Like compete, conquer, control.
Yeah, and he had
masculine.
some issues, like he always wanted to be like verbally abusive, and this didn't work for me. So he ended up going to find somebody else that she can scream at her all the time. She cries,
right?
And then they have sex, and all that is good, all right? So things like that, you know, here is a broken person, right, that cannot control anything. And because I didn't know at that time how to turn it around, because I was myself in depression, you know, here it is goes the second marriage.
Yeah, you know, and again, it's so, from a perspective of the work that we do, it's obvious.
Yes.
You know, it's fixable if you want to.
Yes.
You have to step on your side, clean up your side, and then
but I didn't clean up my side. I didn't know at that time it's possible, right? So I was as much as at fault as he was. Very simple.
In reaction, in reaction as opposed to in a choice. In reaction to, you know, your trauma as opposed to a choice, really a choice with eyes wide open is what I see a lot.
I did not know at that time that there are relationship courses out there.
Right.
I didn't look for it. Right. So here it's the amazing part when you get into a relationship and you think that you know everything about the relationship. You're having a child and you think you know everything about the child, and here the child slips in depression, anxiety, you know, and things like that, and you think you know it all. I understand my child. If you would have understood your child, you would have snapped them out of depression. Okay, very simple, right? If you would truly understand your child. But you think you are, just because you gave birth to a child doesn't make you the perfect parent. You never took a parenting class, okay, in your life, right? So little things like that we think they are given, but we don't do the same at work. When we're going to get hired for a company, we don't go and say, I'm an accountant here, and I never took an accounting course, and I just want to be paid $100,000 a year, right? We don't do this at work. How the heck do we do it in life?
I don't know. I know, it cracks me up, right? It seems so obvious.
It seems so obvious, right?
Yeah. I mean, it seems so obvious. That's always my approach to life. This is why I was a workshop head, because I realized very young in life that it's what I don't know that messes me up, not what I know. It's what I don't know that's dangerous. So let's go find out what I don't know.
Exactly. So, and you don't even know you don't know it. That's the trick, right?
That's what I'm saying. Until you learn, you go, oh, my God, right? And then when you know, you can't unknow it anymore. So you just got yourself in a whole different space where you keep moving forward and kind of put the pieces together and, you know, renegotiate for yourself the thinking and adjust your thinking if it needs to be adjusted, you know, heal your wounds so you can be at choice and living through what you want as opposed to in reaction to your bad childhood. Like it's a choice.
Exactly.
Get to work instead of complain about
Get to
it.
work. Do something. Some people tell me, I don't have
God.
3.5 hours to take a relationship course. No problem. You can have 2 years to stay in a divorce court.
No kidding. My favorite part is, coaching can be expensive if you're going to dive in from the get. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And they go, wow, that's a lot of money. I'm like, really? I go, how much is the divorce going to cost you?
Exactly. How much for divorce
Half
is
the
gonna
house,
cost you?
half your income, the children.
Yeah.
You think that's expensive?
Like
Think
a
about it,
relationship
right?
course is between $500 and $1,000, and the divorce only in Illinois is $13,000 per person. So $27,000 for family.
Right. And then
I'm like, come on, man.
Right. Seriously. And then everything's gone, right? The house is gone.
Yeah, and everything is gone. And then what? You're more heartbroken and more at risk of heart attacks. Exactly like BBC News is saying this article, right?
Exactly.
So you haven't solved anything. Now you have another problem.
And now you're alone in an apartment,
Yeah, and you come in depression, and when you complain about it was like the ex-folk.
Yeah.
But for all our audience, we have 2 more minutes until the end of our show. So, guys, please, I can talk to Andre for the next 10, 15 hours. Easy. Easy. But what I want everybody to take, okay, is that I'm sorry to tell you, just because we're human and you've been in a relationship or 2 or in a marriage or whatever, that doesn't make you an expert or a mastering relationship person until you don't see things from our point of view, right? From our expert point of view, and which we really try to acknowledge in this show. If you haven't had the chance to see the entire show, please make sure to go to truesecretsoflife.com, where you can not only hear the entire show, but you also have the opportunity to get in touch with Andre. Andre, this is the gift you have for them to get in touch with you?
I do. So this is my mission in life, is to help men and women get in a relationship, be happy, build solid, healthy bonds so they can actually raise children to do the same. So if anybody resonated with what you and I talked about today, I created a landing page. If you go to www.andregroupcoaching.com, it's very easy to remember, andregroupcoaching.com. It takes you to my calendar. And there's a calendar for men and women, so you could actually go to my calendar.
We'll have that website exactly on our website too, the button. So everybody will be able to jump in. Guys, you will have the opportunity to spend some time with Andre 101 here. So please do not miss that.
Mm-hmm. The idea is to really see where it is that you're stuck, where's the challenge, where it is that you find yourself like sometimes feeling hopeless, like you can't get out of this. You keep dating the same type man, even though it's a different guy every time, same type woman, right? Life doesn't go anywhere. You seem to be in a loop. Absolutely. That's called belief system that you create as a child. So digging into that, why you're stuck. So what's the problem?
And it's way simpler than you guys believe. It's not traumatic. It's not hardship. It's way easier to fix than everybody believes. Thank you for joining us today. Please don't forget, you deserve to live a life you desire.
You're listening to WGSN-DB, Going Solo Network, Singles Talk Radio channel, where we take a lighthearted and candid approach to discussions on the journey of relationship loss, divorce, parenting, being single, relationships building, dating, and yes, sex. Join our listeners and begin living your best life.